Hello there, so it's Michael here with another guitar lesson from Northern Ireland. This is a David Gilmour style licks lesson, and we're going to use the song Comfortably Numb and his really cool solo from that as inspiration for 5 licks that I'm going to show you now. In general, this is using the B minor pentatonic scale. That's position 1. There are also some other added notes in there, plus some other positions, so as we go, I'll fill in that other information. So here's a cool lick to get us going. Okay, which is kind of how the solo starts. So you're going to play 7 and 9 on the G string, but there's what's called a little kind of squeal pinch harmonic on this first note. So instead of just playing it as normal, what you can do is, if you move your pick over on top of a pickup like this one, for example, and after you play the string, you kind of twist the thumb to just graze the string you just played, and you get this squeal sound, and you can kind of dig in with your pick a bit more, and you'll be a bit more aggressive with it. If that's too much for you now, don't worry about it, but that's what's happening there. Then go to 9, and then after you play it, pick that note again, and we're going to do what's called a full step bend. So what we're doing there is, this fret 9 that we're bending, we're actually trying to make it sound like the next note in the scale, which is fret 11 here, which is also the same note as fret 7 here on the B string. So hopefully you can hear that's the same pitch there, and that's what's happening. We're trying to manipulate the pitch of this note to match that. And this is maybe one of the more difficult techniques in lead guitar, as you've got it bent up there. You can apply vibrato as it's bent, which is a bit difficult. I used to practice this a lot, not by picking at all, but just bending the string and then just trying to let it fall down a little bit. So there's a lot of tension when you build that string, then let it fall out, push it back, fall out, push it back. So you're kind of using the tension in the string, and you've got to develop this kind of nice even motion for doing it. I know that's difficult though. Then you can bend that note again. And this is a real cool bluesy bend. Give it another bend. Sometimes I don't go all the way up to the full step. Sometimes I do a little half bend there, which sounds more bluesy, where you're only bending it to the next note there beside that one. So from fret 9 to 10. Or a full one. Okay, so after you've done your bend, pull off the fret 7 on that string. So that first finger will already be sitting, and you just flick off that finger. Then down to 7 on the D string. Go back up to the G string and try a hammer on, pick 7 and hammer to 9. Put some vibrato on it. So there's some cool ideas to start off. Here's the next lick idea. Which sounds extremely epic. Now, I suppose David Gilmour is quite famous for doing some pretty big hefty bends. Now what we're doing here is, this is really in position 2 of B minor pentatonic. If you know this scale, if you don't, this is it. Now, what a lot of people, including myself, tend to do is, maybe you get rid of the pinky finger here and play the top 3 strings there like that. And that's where this lick is coming from. So our target note is 11 on the G here, and you can kind of slide into it. And once you develop your slide technique, it's not something you think of too much where you're going from. So you could essentially just go from fret 9 with your middle finger, I suggest. Slide into that note. Then go to 10 on your B string, then back, then forward. So 11, 10, 11, 10. And we're going to do a big bend here. Pick it as normal, and then we're going to do what's called a 1.5 step bend, which might hurt a little if you're not used to this. Sounds extremely cool. What David Gilmour is doing there is what's called a 1.5 step bend, where he's bending this note to the next note in the scale, which is either that note or that note. It's the same pitch, but we're trying to physically manipulate this note to sound like that note. So it requires a big old bend, that. And then just on the end of it, you can tag this on, play 10 on that B string again, and then do the same 1.5 step bend on fret 12 here. And you can kind of just cut it out there if you want, after you've bent it. Just dampen the strings. Something like that. And then this is a cool lick to kind of finish those two ones we've already done. Go back to 7 and 9 on the G string. And then do a blues note bend here, this will be called. So we're adding what's called the blues note to this scale, which happens to be there. This is the full blues scale, by the way. So we're going to bend fret 9 here, 1 fret up, pull off to 7, and then go down to 9 on the D string. You know, definitely steal that lick. Real kind of classic cheesy blues lick, but sounds great over loads of things. Okay, I'll show you a couple more licks. There's another cool idea that happens in this solo where David Gilmour is adding what's called the 9th. Now, I don't want to get into too much about what that means music theory wise, but what we are doing is, in your good old B minor pentatonic here, you know, we can add notes into it to change the sound and colour of it. And what's happening is this fret 9 of the high E string is getting added. Now, that's a C sharp note, so anywhere you can find that in your B minor pentatonic box, you can actually add it. There's one there. I love this one. There's a C sharp there. Totally changes the sound of the scale. So, you know, definitely steal that idea. And there's a cool lick in it that goes something like this. So that would be high E 7, then we're adding this fret 9 now. And what's happening is that note is getting bent to the note that would usually be next in the pentatonic scale. So you bend in fret 9 to 10. Then come back to 7 on the high E string. And then go down to fret 10 on your B string, pick it, and then pick it again, but do a full step bend here. And put some cool vibrato on it if you can. And you'll notice me, like a lot of people, I always try and bend with the 3rd finger if I can, to get the other guys behind it and get the thumb up for leverage. And then one more lick to finish this off. This is, you know, kind of a quite flashy minor pentatonic run, and it adds a blues note. You'll hear this in all kinds of music. Real fun to play, real fun. So go to fret 9 on your G string. Now we're giving this a full step bend, but it's quite quick. And then we've got to do what's called a finger roll after it. So bend fret 9 of the G string a full step, or as close to a full step because it's quite fast here. Then with your first finger, what I suggest is go to fret 7 of the B string, pick that note, and then let the finger the knuckle of it collapse and roll over to play fret 7 of the high E. And you'll hear that in all kinds of songs. Then I'm going to start coming down the scale. So I play 10 to 7 on the B string. And you can do this either by picking both notes or by picking 10 and pulling off to 7. And I would usually do a pull off there. Then we're going to come down a scale run here. So play 9, 7 on this G string. Same on the D string. Then this is where the blues note comes in. We're going to play 9, 8, 7 and then slide the 5 here all on the A string. So pick 9, 8 and 7. And as that 7's ringing, just slide back to 5. And go down to what would be the root note of your scale, B, on fret 7 of the low E string.